Yo, yo, yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? Give up the rock. And hello to my fellow revolutionaries. And as we say on this wonderful day, known as Friday, the eve of the weekend, we are going to be, one, acknowledging some important people. But first of all, let us just say that on this, the eve of a sacred time on the working class calendar, the weekend, a time where capital cannot touch us, I hope that you all have a very enjoyable weekend. And if you are still living in a part of the world where the weekend is not, that it's not Friday yet, I hope that you do, when you come to your Friday, enjoy it. And then, like I said, enjoy those sacred days in which capital cannot touch us and rule us. And if you do have to work on the weekend, I hope that you are blessed with penalty rates and special conditions so you get compensated for that. So let's hope they don't touch our award/weekend rate. And that is coming from Squeeb. Hello, Squeeb. It is nice to see you and happy Friday to you. And yeah, that's a good point. Let's hope that they don't touch our award and our weekend rates. And I would say that the likelihood of that happening because of the Labor government that has just been elected or re-elected and with a larger number and force than they had before, I think the chances of them going after the weekend and stuff like that is pretty low. And that's the one good thing you could have, I guess, about having a Labor government in a country like ours, is that they should protect workers' rights and uphold them at least. Not expecting them to, do anything new or radical for working people. 10-minute poop break a day equals 40 hours of paid vacation. Take advantage of the system. I like that. That's a good fact. That's a really good fact. Right? So remember that, ladies and gentlemen. You save your poos for when you go to work. Don't do it when you wake up in the morning. Don't do it when you come home at night. Spend 10 minutes on the boss's clock, getting paid to release your bowels. And accumulatively over the working year, it's a lot of time. I like that. That's a very good way of thinking about it and justifying it. Or you could just watch YouTube for a few hours. Who would do that, eh? On a Friday, nestle in for a YouTube session. MysterE, tell us to take up smoking for the world. Will tell us to take up smoking for the working class. Fight back by having a ciggy break. That's akin to the old toilet break. Do it on somebody else's time, not your own. But in all fairness, Squeeb, having a smoke break was actually something that was quite regular and acceptable, and they've ironed that one out. The old progressive movement, and the professional managerial class with their high health standards have eroded parts of the day that were granted to working people to have breaks because it was their right to do so. Japan, I think, offers additional leave days for non-smokers. Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. To make up for all that lost time when you go out for a dart, potentially. Jag, maybe non-poopers can get more holidays too. That's how you divide the working class. You get them fighting against each other like that. Oh, I don't take my poos at work. I don't go on ciggy breaks. And so I get better leave than you bastard. That's how you divide and conquer. That's how the capitalist class does it. That's how they rule our hearts and our minds, ladies and gentlemen. We need to be able to pay attention to how they rule our hearts and our minds. And that is a nice little segue into today's topic. Today we're going to be looking at the phenomena, which is dark MAGA. So dark MAGA, I thought would be interesting to have a look at because it is closely associated, I believe, with what we have actually been investigating in terms of techno-feudalism and tech authoritarianism, not to be mistaken with technocracy. So technocracy is like a system of government that's ruled by experts. So that's a form of oligarchy, I guess you would say. It's ruled by a few. But like tech authoritarianism is something different. That is just, we have a section of our ruling economic elite, so the bourgeoisie of today, who have basically claimed society for their own interests. And that's what tech authoritarianism is. Hello, hello. Wings of Cheese have descended into the building on this lovely Friday. And might I add, I forgot to do my usual welcome to the Friday stream. And the welcome to the Friday stream, apart from talking about how wonderful the weekend is and you should enjoy it, I also say that I would like to pay my respects to workers, past, present, and emerging. You all know who you are. You make the economy turn over on a local scale, on a global scale. You make all the value that everybody lives off. Everything else that's valuable is just speculation, let's be honest. What's up, what's up? Give up, Iraq. It's the one way that I know that I'm talking to the real Wings of Cheese is when he says, what's up, give up, Iraq. As opposed to giving up the Iraq, which is what we normally do here. So, let me just go back to what I was talking about before. We are going to be looking into the derivation or the idea behind dark MAGA. J is it economy, conomy. I like that. Never thought about that, actually. J is it? I don't even know if we've had you on a stream before. So if this is your first time, welcome. This is a revolutionary reading group, as we have described it in the past, where we throw around ideas. Just found your video 7 minutes ago. Well, welcome. And like, yeah, we've thrown around some revolutionary ideas and analyzing. Oh, you found the Communism 101 vid. Oh, no way. Oh, interesting. Well, any questions about that, let me know. But today, and like I have alluded to already, we're going to be jumping down a pretty crazy rabbit hole, which is dark MAGA. And you live when it ended, so nice. Great in timing. Thank you, algorithm. I always feel like the algorithm's got it in for me, and like it does things like this. It's just, it was meant to be. Serendipity, coincidence. So welcome to the stream. But yes, you enjoyed the vid. Okay, good. Was that like one where I have a mask on or one without it? So that's interesting. Looks like the algorithm is working after all. Okay, well, welcome to post-mask MysterE. That happened in February this year. And so if you enjoyed that and you're down with that sort of stuff, we are investigating, like I said, the bourgeoisie at the moment, and the particular section of the bourgeoisie, the tech bros themselves, the people that run and control Silicon Valley, who are potentially reshaping, as we speak, society in their own image. Have you thought still putting the mask on occasionally? No, I haven't. I've literally hung it up, like, you know, one of those things where you hang your, I don't know, your something up when you retire or something like that. So I'm in Baltimore. How about yourself, Maryland? I am in Sydney, Australia. So we have a couple of Americans in the chat today. We've got Jag, our American correspondent, and we have Wings of Cheese and and Squeeb. So we've got, I think, Wings of Cheese. I'm not sure exactly where you are in Australia, but you are Australian. And then we have, yeah, Squeeb as well. You're from Sydney as well. So this is like a meeting of the UN, let's say. Hang up a big fish trophy. You're from Tassie. There we go. Didn't know that. You learn something every day. Well, welcome. And yeah, so this is a bit international, just like the Working Men's Association, the people that tried to, really kick off a revolutionary workers' movement back in the day. We're doing it digitally, which actually goes on nicely to what Nathan was speaking about yesterday. We did a stream, and Nathan mentioned, he's like, well, isn't it like, a bit rich talking about like, revolution and like, attacking the tech bros, and here we are sitting on social media doing all of this. And it's an interesting sentiment, but like, people have been gathering together in international groups to try and organize for a long time. And like, it's no easier than jumping online and doing it. I know it's obviously controlled by their infrastructure, but like we can still do some damage nonetheless if we can spread the good word and start to grow this movement. Do you have a liberal stronghold? Lucky you, Wings of Cheese. LOL. Worked out well. Do you have staged events there? Tassie looks nice on the brochure. What's real life like? Yeah. Bridget got the boot from her seat. That was satisfying. Apparently her supporters really love ScoMo, unironically. Do you have staged events there? I'm not sure what you mean by staged events. If you're talking about like political rallies and stuff like that. But like, no, not really. Like Australians are not very politically organized. We're not extremely urbanized either. Like we are decentralized in a suburban setting. So I find Australians, as opposed to, their European counterparts or their American counterparts, they don't get out in the streets a lot because, most people live in the suburbs. And like, it's too hard to get together in big numbers. Not that we have a big population anyway. But yes, the point of today's stream, if you're scratching your head and like figuring out why I'm going down the path of dark MAGA today, is that, like I said, we've been investigating a particular section of the bourgeoisie, a riot in the bush. MysterE, your first live stream was a rally. I think it was actually one of my first live streams. Yeah. It was last year, I guess. Yeah. And like, that was an important one because the federal government at that time was attacking the union movement pretty hard. And so like I went along to check that out, but it's few and far between, Squib. I'm not gonna lie. And like it wasn't just like a citizens rally, like it had to be organized by a union or a group of unions. Get people out and about. So it's few and far between. Now, like I said, we are looking at the tech bourgeoisie, who I believe are trying to recreate the world in their own image. And like I say that a lot, but I really think it's true. And I think dark MAGA has something to do with it. So if you haven't come across this phrase, you've probably come across, dark MAGA as in like Elon Musk wearing a black MAGA hat before. If you haven't come across, let's just have a quick look at it. I'll show you what I mean. Oh, really? Why is it doing this? That's interesting. I'll try to do that again. That was strange. All right, let's go with dark MAGA. Elon. So you've probably seen this stuff. You've seen Elon has his own like MAGA look. It's not red, the hat anymore. It's black. Engendered crises. So this is a real thing. Okay, make America great again. And like he's said it. And I know this is old school now, but like he's talked about this in a rally. And we're just going to quickly watch what he says about like dark MAGA and stuff like that. And then I'm going to link that to all of the stuff that we've been investigating about, the tech bros basically wanting to take over society and recreate like all the stuff about the network state that we've been looking at, techno feudalism. Like they're leaving capitalism kind of behind, and they're trying to set up kind of new societies that like basically destroy like democracy in the sense like liberal democracy. And like this is real stuff. And so I think Dark MAGA is associated with that, but there's a lot of confusion around what Dark MAGA really is, because Dark MAGA was also like kind of a meme movement. So like, people that like were hardcore into MAGA and like ruthless MAGA types, right? They want to see Trump, enact some pretty crazy stuff like an evil dictator kind of thing would enact on their subjects. Like they've referred to themselves as Dark MAGA before. Engineered crisis, bit of that going on here, yes. And like, they talk about engineering crisis, which is funny that you mention that. That's actually part of their playbook. It's something that Curtis Yarvin talks about, and like, playing on a big crisis event. And like Curtis Yarvin being one of their big philosophers. So yo, what's up? Give up the rock. It's 4AS in the house. Welcome to the Friday stream. Was it that Yarvin guy that gives Elon's worldview to agree? Okay, Yarvin, yes, I'm going to get onto that. Okay, I'm going to get onto that. But like, first, let's have a look at where Dark MAGA kind of originated. Like, the Americans are probably way more associated with this or familiar with this than Australians, but I think it's important for us just to watch quickly. I love how pumped up all this stuff is. Like, you can tell the wrestling influence on American politics, especially the Republican stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, in the house, Elon Musk. He had a lot riding on this at the time.
I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark, gothic MAGA.
Okay, so like that's really important distinction. Keep that in. Give him the chair. Yeah, it's a bit like that, right? You expect someone to just like run up and like knock him over or something like that. Like it's really hyped up and sensationalized. It's absolutely fucking mental. Like, our politics in this country, we don't have the money that the Americans have. So like that's a massive factor. But it's nothing like this. So boring compared to this stuff. Elon Musk in the ring versus Mark Zuckerberg in the cage. Yeah, who will win? Zuckerberg for sure. He's got the youth on him, and he's probably got the skills too. This is not his domain, I would say. Old musky boy.
Well,
Now, yeah, sorry. What I wanted to say was like he described himself as, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark gothic MAGA. Now, that's a really important distinction because we're going to watch something else about dark MAGA in a second. And like he's separating himself by calling himself or saying, I am dark gothic MAGA. There is a separation between him and like this other style of dark MAGA that's out there.
The energy in this room is incredible.
He's such a bad public speaker as well.
What a great group of people.
All right, I've only got one question for you, and then I'm getting out of here because this is your stage. But we set up...
They are a bit crazy. It's really mental watching this. Like, I would think that this is like a wrestling arena or something like that. But, this is a very American thing, I guess, getting this hyped about politics. That's Jackie Bailey, by the way. I.e., he has a separate entity to Trump then. I.e., he could be in the running instead of Trump. Well, like he's separating himself like, in visuals as well as the black MAGA or the dark MAGA, sorry. And dark is supposed to be, just think about this. It's emblematic of an ideological difference between like what MAGA is about like nationalistic interests and making the country great again, and MAGA Dark MAGA is about like kind of revolutionizing American society, like actually destroying American society in a political sense and like rebuilding from the ashes. It's very, very different. His face looks like he's perpetually eating a sour lolly. Yeah, that's right. Like he presents very interesting. Very, very interestingly. And like you can tell, like, yeah, he's not a natural public speaker. And like a lot of these PayPal mafia kind of ex people are like this. They're, you know, computer scientists. They're a bunch of nerds who programmed their way into glory at the right time and got the right funding from their parents and venture capitalists and stuff like that. They've run some startups, but like, yeah, they're not leaders. They're not great orators or anything like that. They're fucking awkward to watch in public. And like, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that the crowd was already energetic as hell, you wouldn't have had really people cheering because he's not doing the work to get them all G'd up. He's just vibing off that. And he's autistic, bro. Like, I would like to, you know, just backtrack from that, like, autistic narrative. I think autistic is used a bit in the modern age as like a badge of honor to kind of say, oh, well, like he's a genius because, you know, he's, what did they call them? Neurodivergent. He's on the spectrum or something like that. So like that's why he's so amazing. And so like you can excuse his behavior. You can excuse him for, you know, being mean to his staff because he's got high expectations because he's autistic. Or like you can excuse him for, you know, Zeke hailing in the presidential inauguration party kind of thing. Because like, you know, hey, he's autistic. So like he can't read a crowd. And it's like, come on. You never saw him zig hail beforehand, but like he can do it at an inauguration, and everyone's just like, he's autistic. He doesn't know. Asperger's has some dark roots. Interesting. I wonder when scammers will pretend to be Elon. Actually, I think that already happens. What's that Baphomet on his chest? Is that like what he's wearing? It's Cause of Social Network movie with Jesse Eisenberg. It ties to the American dream. It ties to the American dream and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Yeah, okay. But yeah, he's awkward as fuck. And if it wasn't for the cheering crowd that was already fully elated, like it'd be a pretty boring speech, this one.
Doge.
Yes.
How much do you think we can
Talking
rip
about
out of
Doge.
this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
Yes, we can do this. Like, kind of so awkward.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're being taxed. You're being taxed. All government spending is taxation. So whether it's direct taxation or all government spending, it either becomes inflation or it's direct taxation. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
Like the roundabout logic as well. He's talking about inflation and like how really your, you know, government spending is taxation. So he's really trying to say this is going to affect you, but he's just, yeah, you can't speak to a crowd.
We're going to get the government off.
Yeah, I don't think he's autistic either. Okay, I'm with you on this one. Jackie, I don't buy that story. I think people use it as an excuse, and like people just like to elevate these people as like geniuses, and then that like you know, it creates this narrative and this story about, you know, why he was able to pull off Tesla and why he's able to pull off SpaceX and stuff like that. You average people wouldn't understand the genius behind this, and he's only a genius because, yeah, he's got like, you know, he's got a special brain, a special way of looking at the world kind of thing. He's like, you know, from a Marxist perspective, from a working class analysis of this, I'll tell you why he was able to pull that sort of stuff off, because he's got so many people creating value and working around him, and he leans on all of them and all of their hard work to be able to deliver. He might coordinate it and micromanage it like a psychopath, but like that doesn't mean he doesn't rely on other people to work to make him a success story. I think that's a real hidden story behind the autistic one. There is just like, yeah, a lot of people have helped him become incredibly successful. A lot of hard work, a lot of all-nighters and engineers who have been cherry-picked by him because he's the one with the capital at the end of the day. No, it's because he gets federal funds. Yeah, he does, and a lot. And he's such a goober. You had dozens of people being apologetic to him doing the salute. I think one of the is not really war lobbies made excuses to say Elon isn't an actual anti-Semite. Well, there you go. Hey, they'll bend over backwards to protect their mates. Let's be honest.
Your back and out of your pocketbook.
Yeah.
And America's just not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing. Now,
see, this is the point. The crowd is chanting your name. This is the point where you can be like, yeah, like kind of thing. It just misses all the social cues.
you guys are awesome. Honestly, this is like...
He did a few lines before he got on stage. Yeah, that's why he's got that sour-looking face all the time, because he's like, ooh, yeah. We are 40 to 50 years behind the East. In regards to what? He doesn't strike me as someone who has original thoughts. He just wants to be liked instead, so repeats what he thinks people want to hear. And we'll get to that. We will get to that.
Yeah.
He's a bit camp too, isn't he?
I mean, this is the kind of positive energy that America is all about. Yeah.
Yeah.
USA.
Yeah,
USA. USA.
It's really
USA. USA. Yes.
Anyway, I can't do much more of this, but like this is where he kind of announced it, like, you know, this is the origins of Dark MAGA for him. But Dark MAGA is actually something else too. Dark MAGA is this really strange world, can I say, of like meme culture, where you have like members of the actual MAGA movement. So like real hardcore Make America Great Again types from like 2016 who like, you know, basically, you know, it's like the alt-right, potentially even hard-right kind of people that thought that Musk, oh my God, was Trump was like actually like a savior figure, like, you know, was going to come in and like kind of destroy their enemies, like, you know, unleash the full force of the military or the police force or something like that, and take vengeance, at least in his second term anyway, on all the people that have wronged, I guess, the MAGA movement in the past and like American culture and all that sort of stuff. And there's like all this meme culture stuff like showing, you know, him really impressively as this like stoic and very masculine figure. Like, look at him. He's like the Undertaker here. This is Dark MAGA. And he's got like, you know, the ghosts kind of military skull caps kind of stuff on. And like it's all like laser eye stuff and like red filters, and they're going to take over the world. It's very, yeah, militaristic. It's very, very belligerent. Like they're going to attack people, and yeah, like I said, to like take vengeance on the world. And that's what Dark MAGA really was about. It was this hyper masculine type of stuff, like what the liberals would call, you know, toxic masculinity. They've picked that up and just applied that to the MAGA movement. And so it's all about like basically, yeah, big tough men taking over the world again in the name of Western culture, but specifically I think American imperialism. And so like this guy has put together like kind of a bit of a montage of it as at the start of like his documentary, and like it's fucking painful, the stuff that he's talking about, so I'm not going to go there at all. But like his little montage at the start is going to immerse you in the culture of the original Dark MAGA meme culture that started to evolve separately, completely separately to what Musk is talking about before, when he says, I'm dark gothic MAGA. Watch this. This is some crazy shit. Assemble, Dark MAGA. Assemble. To the
He calls it Dark MAGA.
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm Dark MAGA.
My sole and exclusive mission is to go to work for our country, to go to work for you. It's time to deliver a victory for the ever let you down.
This is Donald Trump's house, brother. Yeah, brother.
I will always give you my love. Nation of believers, dreamers, and strivers. We will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our borders. We will bring back our wealth. And we will bring back our dreams. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Know where your
There it
energy
is.
provider
What a
comes
weird
from?
time to have
With
that
Red Energy,
Australian
you
made
do.
ad coming up. All right, this is the dude that put that together. I'm gonna stop it before he starts talking because it's pretty out there, man. Anyway, this is what this is what Dark MAGA is really about. And like this started like way before this guy came along and like co-opted or like bought his way into the presidential race and like, you know, donated, what was it, like $250 million or something to buy his way into, like, you know, right-hand man in the presidential administration or Trump's administration. Did anyone see the IG post of Trump yelling at liberals and has him as a Jedi for May the 4th, but he has a red lightsaber, so he's accidentally frames himself as a Sith. So he low-key admits he's a villain. You know what, 4IS, can I just say, hold on to the Sith idea, okay? Because Curtis Yarvin is affectionately known, right, in this neo-reactionary movement, which we're going to get to, that like sums up this whole dark culture, this dark idea. And like Curtis Yarvin is referred to by all these neo-reactionaries, they call themselves, as the Sith Lord, Curtis Yarvin. So like it might not be a mistake that he has a red lightsaber. I think they actually see themselves as kind of like associated with the darkness, the dark side. And that is a play on the idea of the Enlightenment, where like the Enlightenment is kind of this association with liberal culture. So the liberal Enlightenment that happened, and we got all of, you know, liberal democratic societies and all that sort of stuff. That was all birthed out of the Enlightenment, whereas like the antithesis to being enlightened, it would be shrouded in darkness. And so like they are pinning themselves against the Jedi, I guess you would say, and they're happy to be associated with the Sith, the dark side of the Force. And like, you know, you have to look at all of this stuff as like, you know, kind of sci-fi-esque and very full of fantasy stuff, because it really is. Someone had a message redacted. Is that you, Jackie? You said something and it's been redacted. I don't know if you took that out yourself or if you've been censored. So there's a couple of new people in here. Is that Jay Izzet and Jackie Bailey? So for the two of you, anyone else who's watching this, I'm just going to give you the Discord, because what happens is we actually get censored a lot on this channel. Not because of us, just because of YouTube. It's got nothing to do with us, I swear. And so like, I'm going to give you the Discord, and if you write something and it gets censored by YouTube's moderator, join the Discord, and like there's a server in there where you can like actually put in censored comments and I can read them out. But like, please, for God's sake, don't keep writing the same comment in over and over again, because like we'll just get chopped. We've been censored a number of times and they've just cut the stream. So like, if you're getting censored, just go and write it in the Discord, please, and then I'll read it out for you. Just write in the chat, oh, I've put something in the Discord, can you read it out? We'll do it like that, for God's sakes, please. So yeah, go over and do that. And then like while I'm here, I'm going to do a plug again for if you're interested in this content and you want more of it, please go over to Patreon and sign up for free. And I can get notifications. I can't get notifications to you from YouTube. Like YouTube and like other social media platforms are not reaching my subscribers at all. They're not giving notifications out. And so like, yeah, please join there and then I can get notifications to you. So like, look, Dark MAGA was like this movement, and I saw this really crazy video, and like I can't play it here. Okay, I can't play it here at all. But there was this guy, and like I don't know if anyone's come across this person's name before. What is it? It's John something. He's like an influencer or something like that. Let me find it for you. John Zerka or something. I don't know if anyone's ever come across this guy. I came across this video because I was trying to research on Dark MAGA, and I've come across this guy, John Zerka. I'm thinking mine censored. Yeah, if you've been censored, please go to the Discord and just tell me, and like you can write it in one of the servers. It's called Censored Comments, and I'll read it out. Alternatively, just try and put it in inverted commas, and then sometimes that gets through. So you could try it like that if you wanted. That might help you. But anyway, there's this guy called John Zerka. I don't know if anyone's come across this influencer. He seems like a hard right kind of, I don't know, bit of a psycho. And he's been banned from lots of places, and he gives out like advice on, you know, being a man and dating women and all this sort of stuff. I guess. But he's very controversial. And he's in an interview. Someone's interviewing and asking him like what Dark MAGA is, and like he's basically saying that like Dark MAGA is like for all the real men out there in American culture, and that like are sick of gay people in politics, like, and like gay people in like right-wing politics, like Ben Shapiro and stuff like that. He thinks everyone's gay but like Trump. And so like, you know, Trump is going to bring like masculine Western culture back to America and stuff like that. And so like, it's really difficult to watch because like he's just swearing nonstop and he's very, very vulgar. And so like, I don't think I can really play that on a stream acceptably. And like, he talks about some really graphic stuff and like, you know, anyway, like how, you know, insinuating that everyone that isn't Dark MAGA are cucks, I guess. And he just, yeah, he's used a lot of homophobic slurs and to describe right-wing politics today and Republicans, and they're not hardcore enough. And so Dark MAGA seems to be like this idea in meme culture about like being just hardcore, like militaristic MAGA supporters who are willing to, you know, basically kill their opposition and like, you know, bring in some kind of Caesar type dictatorship in America, led by, you know, their savior, Donald Trump. And like, I don't think they really care about like making America great from it, like a economic sense, which is like the insinuation in the term. I think they're just worried about like, you know, bringing back like hardcore Western and patriarchal values to America. Now that's got nothing to do with like what Musk is talking about. Sounds like he's ashamed of something. Yeah, it sounds like it. It's very like, it's hard to watch. He seems like, watch it on your own time if you ever want to see what this guy has to say about Dark MAGA. But he sounds like someone who saw Orlando Bloom as a kid, questioned his sexuality, and has been taking it out on queer people ever since. Yeah, there's a bit of a, you know, there's something else going on there. He's got some problems, this guy. But like, you know, he's representative. He speaks, he said, for the Dark MAGA movement, and he's like basically explaining, you know, what it is and what it basically stands for. And like, he seems to be one of those manosphere types. And like, you know, nothing's ever enough for them. Nothing's ever extreme enough for them. And they want to, you know, just basically rewrite society in their, you know, like a very masculine way, bring it back to traditional values in a 21st century context. Anyway, so like, I want to talk about Dark MAGA, but like, let's have a chat, I guess, let's ask what ChatGPT thinks of Dark MAGA first, I guess. and like have it explain it to us a little bit so we can get a good grounding of it, and see if there's a difference between the meme culture one and not. So let's just see if we can get a definition. Could you please explain if there is a difference between dark MAGA from meme culture and dark MAGA as in dark gothic MAGA? Oh, it's not even writing down. Shh. Could you please explain if there is a difference between dark MAGA from meme culture and dark gothic MAGA as proposed by Elon Musk? Because I think there's a massive difference there. So dark MAGA meme culture, it emerged in 2022 in the online far-right meme space, 4chan, Twitter, Telegram, as a reaction to Trump's perceived failures or betrayals of the Republican establishment. It's apologetic, wrathful, vengeance-focused. It imagines a future where Trump or a similar figure returns, not to negotiate or compromise, but to punish enemies, purge the GOP. He's definitely been learned that. So that's purging the Republican Party. And exacting revenge on perceived traitors. Visual style, heavy use of black and red and glowing eyes, Trump in war gear, dystopian or fascistic or fascist adjacent aesthetics. Think Trump as Darth Vader meets Rambo. There you go, 4IS. Like Trump as Darth Vader. So like they're coming to exact vengeance on people. And like you've seen those flags where like Trump is like, you know, his head is superimposed on like Rambo's body and he's got the machine gun out and like, you know, he's like pumped, he's jacked, and he's gonna like, you know, basically destroy the Viet Cong single-handedly or something like that. Less a coherent political ideology, more a fantasy of authoritarian redemption. It thrives on disillusionment. Right? That was very objective of you there, ChatGPT, with current political order, and weaponizes irony, rage, and a sense of betrayal. I think this is really important with like internet culture, right, and meme culture. Like it weaponizes irony. So like, oh, it's just being like ironic kind of thing. And like, but like it's all down with rage, and like it's centered on this form of betrayal. Like I think they feel like in 2016 or like that first presidency, like Trump didn't do enough to like, you know, really bring on the, you know, the return of, dare I say, white American values kind of thing in that sense, like, and like Christian, like evangelical almost American values, and like its militaristic values, its warrior culture. And so like they're expecting him to come back this time and you know, do the right thing and like basically destroy their enemies. So dark MAGA, dark gothic MAGA. So in context, Elon Musk used this phrase in the 24-25 election, I guess, as part of his public commentary, likely half jokingly, to describe a more edgy, stylized form of the MAGA movement. Musk was likely referencing a kind of aesthetic rebellion influenced by gothic imagery, perhaps merging from his fondness of edgy internet culture and populist right-wing energy. So gothic, dramatic, dark romanticism, MAGA, nationalist populism. The result is a dark futurist punk version. And Musk's intention, most likely cultural provocation or trolling rather than any coherent political program. Musk even floats edgy ideas to stir discourse. Now, this is absolute nonsense. You don't see me often come up and challenge. Like, I do ask people to do their own research and fact check stuff, but like, I don't often rally against exactly what ChatGPT is saying. If like I like agree with it because I've done my own research, but in this case, it's completely off. It's just getting this from the media. Now, I have looked as much as I could in the time I had to kind of get to the bottom of like what the media thinks that dark MAGA is. And like the media has fucking no idea what dark MAGA is. Like it really has absolutely no explanation. It's kind of like, oh yeah, they're trying to like, you know, talk about government, like, you know, efficiency, and like they're calling upon like right-wing meme culture a little bit, and they're trying to pull on sentiments of like political slogans and catchphrases to, you know, really distill like really large and hard to talk about political problems and just make it easily digestible for like basically stupid right-wing people. Like that's what the media thinks that dark MAGA is. Now, we know from like, you know, researching about like the work of Curtis Yarvin, who is like this in-house philosopher of Peter Thiel, who's like one of the main tech bros out there. He's the kingmaker, as we call it. And like his ideas of basically redoing society is turning America into a monarchy, as he describes it. So he wants to get rid of democracy. He wants to erode the democratic institutions that have basically made the West, I guess, what it is today, because he thinks that they've been fully corrupt by the bureaucracy and the deep state. And he wants to kind of bring back and centralize power in the hands of one person, as opposed to being spread across a bureaucratic system like what you have in America. And so, like, dark MAGA is this idea, as I was talking about before, which is associated with the dark enlightenment. Okay? So, like, the dark enlightenment is this idea that the liberal democratic societies that we live in today have gotten it wrong. They don't understand how society really works. Society basically just works off power. This is a very kind of postmodern view on things. Society is just a force that is run and controlled by the levers of power, like whoever controls the levers of power. And they believe that there are certain ways to control and concentrate power. And like you can either have in the Aristotle way of thinking, you can have like three options of power. You can have monarchy, so like you have one person with all the power. You have oligarchy, so you have a few people with power. And then you have democracy, which is like rule by the many, not by everyone, but ruled by like many, many people. Okay, and that's the traditional kind of democracy sense that you saw in Greece when they like were kind of playing with the idea of democracy at the start. It was like all Greek citizens that were male, they were able to be involved in the political system, and then they would get together like, you know, once a week or something like that, and like, you know, conglomerate in a particular area and like make decisions about what they were going to do to help run their society. And they had civic functions, and like, you know, they went into a ballot, like into a lottery, sorry, and then like, you know, they had to serve as judges, and like, you know, and they had other civic functions. And so like people were in that system, and they were part of like, you know, the day to day. They were either a judge one day and voting on something the next and organizing their society. They were politically active. So there's rule by the many. Now, they argue, these dark enlightenment people, that we actually have oligarchy. And so like they're really specifically talking about the American sense here, but like you could apply this to most liberal democratic societies. But like what they're arguing is that like in a democratic society like America, you have the deep state. So like academics call this the administrative state, and like I guess more conspiratorial people call it, yeah, the deep state. These are functions of the executive branch, so like the parts of the government that run and do their own thing. So they're the bureaucracy, the offices, where like you have people like technocrats, people that are like experts in their field, that have gone to university and trained, and like they're educated or experienced in running the government sector somehow. So running like, you know, the tax department, or running like agriculture, or running like border security, or like, you know, these elements of the deep state. So like these administrative arms, they believe that's where the power is. It's actually not where like where, you know, Congress sits, or the elected officials are. Like they don't even write policy like these politicians or anything anymore. They're just given policy by like, you know, the administrative state. So like, you know, people that write policy from within the government departments and the government offices, and then they just vote on it. They don't even debate policy anymore. So there's no power in the elected officials. It all comes from this thing called the deep state. And so like this is why you have MAGA. Like one of the first things Trump said ever was like going after the deep state. Like they want to attack the deep state, and everyone's just like, yeah, take down the CIA and stuff like that. And like that was the sentiment. Like even people that weren't like Trump supporters were like, yeah, let's do something about the deep state. And everyone like kind of uses it as like this synonymous term with like these dark and nefarious underbelly of like American intelligence services. But the deep state for them isn't just that. Like it encompasses that, but it's much larger than that. It's like every form of bureaucracy that you have there, every department that's there to help, you know, make society run, especially make a fucking free market society run. It's all about, you know, supporting the economy at the end of the day. But like they argue, these dark enlightenment people, so your Curtis Yarvins, your Nick Lands. So we talked about Nick Land once. He's the accelerationist guy. So he believes that, like, you know, you just like get rid of everything, all the regulation, all forms of government, everything. Just let the free market go, and it'll develop technology so fast that it'll leave us all behind, kind of thing. And it's going to usher in like this new society, basically that's controlled by technology. Notice how they never call names. Seems not to be telling to most. They never call names, like they never actually call out people. And like this is a big part of this movement, right? They really believe that it's the institutions of power as opposed to individuals. Like they don't believe, like they say, these dark enlightenment people, they don't believe in like Trump even. Like Trump's just a puppet kind of thing. And they don't even believe like particularly in like particular presidents that have done things or particular heads of state and all that sort of stuff. Like they don't believe in those people exactly. They think it's all like determined by the institutions and the machines themselves. Now, I'm not too afraid with that concept because, like, you know, as someone who's studied like enough Marx, like, you know, there's a deterministic element in Marx too, that it's just like, you know, it's not really the individual capitalist that's the problem. It's like the mode of production of capitalism produces the relation between capital and laborer, which is exploitative. And so like you could have some good capitalists, but at the end of the day, it's still an exploitative relationship because it's being determined by the mode of production that perpetuates this need. And so like they're taking a postmodernist view, I think, is they're taking the parts of Marx that they like and the other parts that they don't really suit, that doesn't suit their argument, they throw that out the window. But like they think it's the institutions that have the power, and so that's the type of oligarchy they're talking about. When like someone like me or like us, when we've talked about oligarchy in the past, we're talking about the bourgeoisie being the oligarchy. They're the ones that really have the levers of power because they pay off the politicians through lobbying or institutionalized corruption, depending on how you want to call it. They're the ones that pay off the government officials and all that sort of stuff, or like the politicians through, you know, legalized corruption, which is, yes, lobbying, and like they control the power. But these people are like, no, that's a stupid way of looking at it. They have power, they have money to buy politicians, but the real power then, because they have to buy it, sits with the people that run government, these institutions. And so like what they're talking about here, and this is really important, this is the dark enlightenment, all right, is that if you are able to destroy the deep state, which is, again, it's code for the bureaucracy, the administrative arm, all these government departments where, like, you know, there's little bureaucrats in there, like busy bees, just like signing paperwork and making sure things functions and things are regulated and the economy can keep turning over and all that sort of stuff. If you destroy the administrative arm, like basically just chop out the top level bureaucrats and the medium level bureaucrats and stuff like that, like those departments, like it'll still turn over, but they'll be running around like headless chooks kind of thing. But like if you just destroy the administrative arm, the deep state, then all of that power has to go somewhere. And then that power then goes back up again and is centralized into the hands of the president. The president is the executive, the chief executive officer, the CEO, as these people call it. And so if you start destroying the bureaucracy, which is where all the power is held, because this is an oligarchy, that's like all the power comes from these bureaucratic elements. If you destroy the bureaucracy or important parts of it, then the power just naturally has to go back to this monarch, this king, this dictator, that's supposed to run the country. That's why they're elected in the first place. And so like they're trying to honor this original understanding of the way that a like a presidential style system should work, that like this person should have the final call on most things. The judicial system, maybe you can consider that separately, and like the legislator, so the politicians that are elected to go into Congress and stuff like that to make the laws, they can be looked at separately. But like everything else, the entirety of the federal bureaucracy should be run by basically President Trump. And so you have dark MAGA. You have, like, before the election, Muskie boy coming out as dark MAGA, and like putting his hat on and wearing black clothes and stuff like that, heading Doge. And like in that video, I didn't play the whole thing, but like in that video at the end, like the last part of his speech after he comes out as dark MAGA is just like him like pleading with people. It's just like, look, you've got to go out and you've got to encourage everyone that you know to vote for Trump. We need to take the system and we need to take it by force. Like we need to get as many people to vote in our interests as possible so we can get as much control of Congress and all that sort of stuff as possible, so we can just like fly through with our own plans. And their plan is basically to kind of, you know, bring down the government, which they think is undemocratic anyway, these Dark Enlightenment people. Because they're just like, you know, people don't vote for these bureaucrats and all that sort of stuff. And like they use that as an excuse to trash democracy. Like they like, you know, you don't really have democracy because like all the power is held by these bureaucrats. And like they use examples, like they talk about like how, you know, in Trump's first presidency and stuff like that, he'd sign like an executive order and say like this government department's going to run like this now. And like, you know, he'd have like poor old President Trump would have to chase that up, you know, 5 times, 10 times before he got a response from anyone because they just ignored him because like they have their own operations and processes. So they don't even listen to the president. So they're like, can you see this? Can you see the power sits with them? It doesn't sit with the president. The president can't do anything. So like they're enacting organized crime. What's that in a reference to? In what exactly? Can you please clarify? Because I'd like to know what you've called organized crime. But like, they're enacting apparently what Curtis Yarvin refers to as the butterfly revolution. So the butterfly revolution is basically you go in there and you smash up, and this is basically part of this Dark Enlightenment theory. And like, I'm jealous of this, okay? Because I'm a revolutionary. I believe that you actually have to revolutionize the capitalist mode of production in order to get out of this rut, this system that we have at the moment. And like they're talking about like an actual revolutionary style of takeover here. They're looking to basically destroy the American governance framework and like centralize everything in the hands of the president. And that gets even scarier to think about, like when you consider the fact that like Trump has noted that he wants to get rid of Section 22 or whatever it is of the Constitution, or like find a legal way for him to extend his presidency. And like, you know, if he can institute all this stuff where he uses Doge to gut out the government service kind of thing and centralize a lot of that stuff back into the power of the hands, back into the hands of the president, like then he has another term up his sleeve, like an indefinite term or something like that, like you're starting to think, wow, like they're really going for this kind of, you know, monarchy style of governance, which basically means like getting rid of like democracy at the end of the day, because they don't believe in democracy. They think that democracy is like a farce. It's been sold to the people. It doesn't actually exist. The powers are in the bureaucracy. It's got nothing to do with elected officials. They're just there to kind of, you know, help rubber stamp policies and decisions for the corporate sector and for the bureaucracy. And like, you know, let's just call it what it is and like get rid of Congress, retake the power from the bureaucracy and just give it all to the president and just let them run the country as they see fit. It'll have to start from the bottom up if we're actually going to go for like a revolution. Well, the butterfly revolution, as these people, these Dark Enlightenment individuals think it, like they can take over from the top. And that's what they're doing. Well, all of that is true. They would just rather be the ones calling the shot. And you know what? That's interesting that you say that, Jag, because like, you know, they're not wrong. Like in terms of like how they've analyzed the way that the bureaucracy works and all that sort of stuff. And like it holds all the real power and all that sort of stuff. I get that. But like, yes, you're right. They're just using this as like a guise to actually take power and call the shots, because we already know what they're up to, in the sense that like we know where these tech bros sit. And like, you know, Elon Musk is one of the PayPal mafia, is associated with all the tech bros, Mark Andreessen, David Sachs. Who else who's up there? Peter Thiel, calling the shots on like what they want to see the world. And they've all been, you know, donating to this cause and like, you know, supporting Trump because they want dark MAGA to happen. They want to gut out the government services and like weaken the government to basically start calling the shots in about what happens in America. Do they have enough power? It's so gross, man. Look, I don't know if they have enough power. Like I've heard Curtis Yarvin speak about this, and you have to take everything he says with a grain of salt, because like he might just be trying to appear oppositional to Doge and Elon Musk just for the sake of it. But like Curtis Yarvin, whose idea this is, he's like the main orchestrator of this. He said, "Oh, what Doge is doing isn't enough. Like if you really want to institute the butterfly revolution, they're not going fast enough. The idea is to move fast and break things," which is a very Silicon Valley ideology. Like the Silicon Valley guys, like since Google took off and Facebook took off, like their philosophy was like you basically move as fast as you can and you smash rules and regulations and societal norms and moral boundaries and all that sort of stuff, and you produce this technology, get it out to as many people as you can to take over a system. And so like the idea behind the butterfly revolution was like they should have done this stuff faster. Like Trump isn't moving fast enough for them. They really wanted all of this sort of stuff to be the state machine to be smashed quicker. Like all of that saga that happened with USAID and how they basically crippled that organization and turned it inside out. Like he wanted that rolled across the entire the entirety of the federal bureaucracy, and like to more and more like departments, because the courts will get involved. But if like you already go through and smash things, like break things and then ask questions later, like the damage is done, and like even the courts might not be able to reinstate these institutions. But more importantly, their power. Because what happens when you gut out like the higher level bureaucrats, they're kind of just puppets anyway. They're appointed by politicians. But the middle level bureaucrats are the ones that actually have the expertise and do the work. So if you get rid of them, then the power is actually gone out of these institutions, because no one knows what the fuck they're doing anymore. No one actually knows how to run that department, because the middle level bureaucracy has actually been fired. They're gone. And so like nobody actually knows what that department should be doing anymore. Like they've got a general idea, but they don't have the experience in like the minutiae of it, like how the mechanics, the processes are supposed to turn over. And so they slow right down and they become ineffectual, and then people call for them to be shut down. They call for them to be dismantled, and that suits this butterfly revolution thing fine, because then all of that power goes back to the administration, the president's office, and then he gets to sanction everything. He or she gets to sanction everything. Ollie Atlas is here. Welcome. Thanks for doing the roll call. Describing every layoff I've been a part of. Oh, really? Getting rid of middle management, starving the base, classic conservative move. But like this is like consolidating every conservative move into like a revolutionary playbook. And that's why I said like I'm jealous of this, because like this Curtis Yarvin has described like they call it a neo-reactionary revolutionary takeover, and it's to help deliver, because he's a tech bro at the end of the day. Curtis Yarvin, like he was involved in Silicon Valley in the early days, and like he was a programmer or something like that, and he knows the right people. So like they do believe that like tech society, the Silicon Valley culture, is the way to run society. So he's shaped a revolution on conservative ideals and called it neo-reactionism, and shaped a takeover by rich Silicon Valley people of the government to bring in a new society where specifically the tech bros, so Silicon Valley people, can take over. And this is what dark MAGA is all about. I don't think dark MAGA has got anything to do with what ChatGPT has described here. It's like, it's dramatic and it's rebellious because it's dark, and it's like futuristic and punk, and it's an aesthetic rebellion. I don't think it's got fucking anything to do with that. I think Musk was fully cognizant of the fact that dark MAGA already existed in like meme culture and angry like hard right online groups and stuff like that, and so he had to separate it and called it dark gothic MAGA. But like dark gothic MAGA is a nod to this, the dark enlightenment. I think you can see that by this guy Nick Land. And so Nick Land is like this, like kind of, he's a neo-reactionary philosopher. But like Nick Land, I thought predated Curtis Yarvin. But like this book so far, The Dark Enlightenment, is just filled with quotes of what is Curtis Yarvinson's pseudonym? Mencius Molebug. And Mencius Molebug is Curtis Yarvin's old blogging name. And so like this book is just basically filled with references to Curtis Yarvin's idea of the butterfly revolution, taking over the US governmental federal structure, firing as many people and dismantling government departments as fast as you can, and then having that power sucked up and reconstituted back in the hands of the president to allow them to become more autocratic, and then them starting to run society like American society like a startup. So a startup in this case being a top-down organization where you have a CEO who makes and calls all the shots. And like a startup, and like in corporate culture, you have maybe the CEO who's the head manager of that organization, but the CEO is answerable to the board of directors, and the board of directors like represent the interests of the shareholders, and the shareholders are the people that really run the levers of society in the background. So like the shareholders in that sense will be like, people that help run the economy. So like your tech bros. And so you have a bunch of tech bros that are shareholders or board members, and like you have a CEO president like Trump who is answerable. Like they're the CEO, they're like the face, they yell at everyone and say you're fired, like kind of thing. But like they're also answerable to the board of directors and like the people that funded their campaign and got them into office in the first place. And so like you can see that pretty like drastically with what has been going on with like Doge and Trump so far. Like some people have been, making fun of Trump and stuff like that and saying like he's not really the president, it's Elon Musk who's in power kind of thing. And like Trump's just like going along with whatever Elon Musk is doing. But like this is part of that butterfly revolution. The CEO, while they are, a monarch and all that sort of thing, they have like the final say on everything, they're still answerable to the board, and like they get appointed by the board. And so like the board in this case are these tech bros. And so like Jag's right when you say like before, like this is really about, setting up a society where they get to control everything. And so the tech bros are going to be our new, the new board that controls the startup, which is America, run by CEO Donald Trump, who may be, CEO for life or an extended period. So like this is some really crazy shit that's going on. And it's all got its ideological backing in the Dark Enlightenment. And that's why I think like Elon Musk is openly dark MAGA and calling himself dark MAGA, because they believe in this revolutionary takeover of the American government. It's like, it's real. It's happening, man. So I've missed a lot in the chat here. Try to have a quick monopoly on power. Wings of Cheese says, it's easy to get complacent, but we should struggle. Starving the Beast, classic conservative move. I think I read that before, actually. Jackie says, do they have a big enough army? That's an interesting question, because like I don't even know if they're doing this like militaristically. I don't think they're even thinking of it like that. Like they don't. This is not like an armed coup kind of thing. They're not. It's not an insurgency even. They have money and they have power, and so they've used their money power to buy themselves a president and an administration, which is stacked by billionaires as well. And so like they are influencing the decisions. And so like, you know, they've asked Trump to let in a lot of their own people. He hasn't approved all of the selection choices and stuff like that, but he's picked a lot of the stuff that has been suggested by, you know, Peter Thiel, for example, and Elon Musk. And so like they bought their way in, and they're just going to basically take over, like I said, the existing levers of power, and like fire people that don't align with Trump in terms of loyalty to Trump. And so like that's even happened in the military. Like there have been generals that have stepped down, I'm pretty sure, since Trump has come into office, because they don't, you know, align with his viewpoint. So like I don't even think this is like a military thing. Like they refer to this type of stuff as like a non-violent revolution. Whoa, what happened? YouTube never did this before. Chat disconnected, please wait. Oh, wait. Yeah, I don't know why the chat got disconnected. That's a bit weird. That's a bit strange. ChatGPT be like, oh, Leon is just being a silly boy. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's like so like tame about like, oh, it's just aesthetic. And like, to be honest, Jack, like I have been trying to do my research, and like, you know, ChatGPT is not like thinking for itself. It's just tearing stuff off the internet. And like the media have been so relaxed about dark MAGA. Like there's no questions. They're just like, oh, look at Musk. He's now wearing a black hat and it's called dark MAGA. Isn't that funny? Like, you know, and like that's the level of inquiry that has come out of the mainstream media on this one. It's just like, oh, isn't that nice? You know, he's changed the color a little bit and he's referring to himself as dark. How rebellious. Like, and that's as deep as they get. And ChatGPT is picking up on that. But like I really think like it's too uncanny. It's too uncanny to have like Mencius Moldbug, Curtis Yarvin, being like the leader of the neo-reactionary movement that is defined by the dark enlightenment, and like that being the philosophical overtones for the tech bros, and like they're wanting takeover of society and to produce a network state, and like they're doing this stuff for real. And like he's just come out and called himself dark MAGA or dark gothic MAGA to make sure he separates himself from like the crazies online that are a little bit, you know, unsavory, let's be honest, because with some of the stuff that they talk about. And so like, you know, he separated himself, but like it's too coincidental. And like, yeah, the mainstream media haven't touched this at all. And that's what Gil Duran complains about. And Gil Duran is the guy, I'll show you a picture of him. So Gil Duran is like this like ex kind of Democrat press guy, media guy. He's like a media advisor to different Democratic politicians, but he's like his own kind of he runs his own media now, company and stuff now, and he writes newsletters and does investigative journalism and all that sort of stuff. Gil Duran faked a quote for the New Republic. That's interesting. But like, yeah, Gil Duran is the first guy that like we discovered the network state through. And like he's kind of outlined the play-by-play kind of takeover of like American politics by the tech bros, and like their idea of creating new societies like with Praxis and Prospera, and like what they want to do with Greenland, and like he basically introduced us to Curtis Yarvin too. And like his big argument is kind of like when it comes to Elon Musk and like the tech bros and what they're up to with this like kind of philosophy of the butterfly revolution and the dark enlightenment, that the media doesn't want to touch this at all. The media doesn't want to touch this stuff at all. They're just like, you know, they're staying away from it. Like they're aware of it, but like they haven't spread this throughout, like, or like they haven't discussed this seriously. And so like that is really showing here, because like, you know, ChatGPT, this is just scraping information off the internet to produce an answer here, has absolutely no idea how to classify, you know, Elon Musk's version of dark MAGA. Doge isn't a government agency. It's a nationalized company belonging to Elon. And like, this is the thing, like he's got special powers that have been gifted to him by the president. This is exactly their philosophy. That's like the president was elected, like kind of thing, you know, through the democratic process with a mandate to like, you know, be the CEO of America. And so like the president doesn't have to fucking, you know, follow any laws or regulations or anything like that. He's the fucking CEO, bitch. Like that's what he's there to do. And so if he wants to set up a special task force called Doge and put his mate at the head of it, who's going to like, you know, gut out the government service for him and give him more power, then like that's what you expect from a CEO. That's what they do. And like usually what a CEO is supposed to do is supposed to come in and do these radical things and run a corporation or an organization with absolute impunity and like absolute power in order to leave the place better than when it started, and like to fix up the longevity of the company or the organization. But like, you know, some people will be arguing here, like, you know, whether they're actually going to do that by like gutting out the government service in the name of efficiency. And like you have people that criticize this kind of language and this rhetoric because they're like, you know, the federal service has like, you know, a few million employees or something like that. But like, you know, the majority of like government employees, like in the tens of millions, are at the state and the local level. So if you're serious about like government efficiency, if you're honest to God about government efficiency and cutting, you know, like all of like the extra expenses by having such a big bureaucracy, you wouldn't be starting with the federal level. You'd cut a lot of people out of the state level and the local level. That's how you'd actually save most of your money. Like I've heard like this one commentator talk about this, who's like a geopolitics guy for us. You would know him, Peter Zahan. And he was just like, you know, all of the cuts that Doge are doing to the government service and stuff like that, like if they do everything they wanted to do, they're going to save the entire budget like 2% a year. It's like almost nothing compared to all of the work that they're doing. Like it doesn't actually make economic sense to cut this stuff out of the budget, because like it's not going to actually save that much money. If you really wanted to cut something out of the budget, like you'd go after the military budget and you'd go after Social Security, because those are the two biggest things that America spends all of its money on, apparently. And so like, you know, gutting out the government service, like the bureaucracy at the federal level, is not going to fucking do anything in terms of efficiency. And like that sort of stuff just makes them sound fucking crazy, right? Like you're like, oh my God, Elon Musk must be just mental. Trump must be crazy. Like they've set up this department. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to actually be able to make the country more efficient. So like, what are they claiming? They just must be stupid. And it's like, no, they're not fucking stupid. They're not stupid at all. This is part of the dark enlightenment, or this is dark MAGA. Dark MAGA is not to make America great again. That's what MAGA does through like nationalistic populism. They like tell everyone that we're going to close the borders and stop the migrants from coming in, and we're going to bring all the industry back, and we're going to do that through tariffs. That's MAGA. Dark MAGA is about destroying the power of the bureaucracy and putting that in the hands of the president. Now, I think it's a good point though, and like Jag, I got to agree with you on this one. Like that doesn't actually mean that like the bureaucracy is a good thing, because like it's Trump who's destroying the bureaucracy via Elon Musk. Like there's probably a lot of bad stuff that goes on in an ossified bureaucracy that is inefficient, and like does have power and takes power away from the hands of the people and all that sort of stuff. But like the real question is like, are these the people that you fucking want doing this? People like this. these dark enlightenment people. Are these the type of people that you want to be going through and being like, oh, the bureaucracy is not working for the people. We'll do it. We'll fix it up for you. Like the stuff that they talk about is mental shit. So like here is like a section of what they think the dark enlightenment is supposed to be all about. Okay. So to a neo-cameralist. Okay, so a cameralist is someone who kind of believes that like all power in an organization should be centralized. So it should be centralized into one area. So they call themselves neo-cameralists. They're like really really wanky with all of their terminology. But anyway, to a neo-cameralist, a state is a business. So the government is a business which owns a country. This is how they see the government, okay? A state should be managed like any other large business by dividing logical ownership into negotiable shares. A well-run state is very profitable. Firstly, it's essential to squash the democratic myth that a state belongs to the citizenry. The point of neo-cameralism is to buy out the real stakeholders of sovereign power, not to perpetuate sentimental lies about mass enfranchisement. So it's not about like continuing this idea that like the people have power. It's supposed to be weeding out the people that hold the real power in government. They say that this is in contradistinction to Marx. And Marx's social analysis is that the capitalist bourgeoisie is in control. And they say here in the Dark Enlightenment, logically, that cannot be true, that the bourgeoisie has power. The power of the business class is already clearly formalized in monetary terms. So the identification of capital with political power is redundant. It is necessary to ask rather, who do the capitalists pay for political favors? And so like they don't think, the capitalist class are the ones that's in control of society. It's not the bourgeoisie. It is the capitalists who like will pay out, politicians who write policy or pass policy, and like elements of the bureaucracy who make and write the policy, or elements of the legal profession, or think tanks or societies that like have the political power. The capitalists will pay them out to help get their wins on the board. So it's not the capitalist class who holds power. This is very anti-Marxian kind of stuff, but they're identifying that the bureaucracy and these institutions have power and the capitalists simply just have the money. They just have the money, and that's not important. The conclusion of this exercise is the mapping of a ruling entity that is the truly dominant instance of the democratic polity. So they do not believe in the Marxian view of the world, that is the bourgeoisie that kind of controls everything indirectly. They believe they just pay for it, and like the real levels of power are either with bureaucratic institutions or think tanks, like legal firms, through the actual federal government agencies that write policies and decisions, and capitalists just pay for it. That's a massive distinction from Marxian revolutionary theory, which is kind of like, the capitalist class really control the way the world works. And like, if you overthrow like the entire mode of production and the capitalist class, then like you'll be able to restate everything. Like you'll be able to revolutionize society. But like, if like you take what they're saying as kind of true, and the power is not with the capitalist class directly, they have the money to have influence, but it's not power. Power and influence are a bit different there. Then like the Marxian revolutionary ideal is incorrect. I'll be off. I'll catch you. See you later. Wings with cheese. The Marxist kind of view of revolution is completely incorrect, according to these guys, because like you actually need to overtake the government and smash the government And then you can do whatever you want. You can centralize power, you can democratize it, you can set up a new form of oligarchy, whatever you want to do. It's all about smashing the state to these people. And you can see their ties to libertarianism. A lot of these guys are libertarians, and they understand, or they think that libertarians are right, but they have no plan. They have absolutely no way of like actually bringing in some libertarian utopia. And so that's why they are neo-reactionaries, because like libertarians to a certain extent believe in democracy and freedom and all that sort of stuff, whereas neo-reactionaries have, like, they've swallowed the red pill, and they know that like democracy is never going to work. And if you're truly libertarian, then you're neo-reactionary, because you want to get rid of democracy because it gets in the way of organizing society properly. Besides culture wars points, what is the point of doing all this to undermine what they perceive as Marxism for a party that loves freedom? It seems like they're fine with everything they've done. That's an interesting point, and I'm sorry you've gone before I got to it, Wings of Cheese. But like, what's the point of doing all of this to underpin what they perceive as Marxism for a party that loves freedom? It seems like they're fine with everything. It's funny because like they really, go after communists and Marxists, like these evil they bring in evil dictatorships, but these people are more than happy to bring in dictatorships. They actually want dictatorships. They want to get rid of democracy, but like they will use like scare tactics and scare people into thinking of like, Stalinist Russia and Maoist China and all that sort of stuff. And this is what communism gives you. It gives you evil dictatorships that kill hundreds of millions of people and all that sort of stuff. But like they're actively calling for a dictatorial style of government. It's almost like people didn't articulate that a CEO fires 3/4 of the staff and then claims the profits, completely undermining the company, and it ends up falling down the line. You'd go after the military Keynesianism. You'd go after military Keynesianism 100%. Ollie Atlas says, essentially the government equivalent of Krabs firing SpongeBob to save a penny. Doesn't help. He literally sold SpongeBob's soul at one point for 62 cents. But like, and that's like the problem I think that people have kind of innately with the whole Doge operation is like these services are still required for the most part. Like there's some stuff that I'm sure they've cleaned up in terms of efficiency and stuff like that. But like the services are still required. So like if they go too far, then like someone's still going to have to do the job. So it's like they're just shooting themselves in the foot with this whole efficiency exercise. For us, says David Graeber talks about it a lot, that modern politics likes to be government versus market when it's a false dichotomy. Jag says, I'd rather have MysterE and 4AS give it a go. yeah, ha. Thanks, Jag. I would, one day we'll get there. I'll be the monarchist, I'll be the CEO, and 4IS can be the head of the board of directors, and he'll keep me in check as we go through and take over society slowly. But like, this is the idea. And like, I really wanted to clarify that. That's what I actually wanted to do today, because like someone asked me the other day, oh, well, what the hell is dark MAGA then? And I was like, fuck, I don't know. Like, what's he actually up to? And like, the mystical sentiment out there, being peddled by the mainstream media is like, oh, it's just like aesthetic rebellion. Like, it's like red, but it's black. Isn't that outrageous? Like, and it's like, no, like, have you guys not come across, like the mainstream media and the people out there, have you guys not come across this Curtis Yarvin? Because he is going through the fucking process at the moment, Curtis Yarvin. He's being on like podcasts, he's being interviewed by all these different people. Like, what did we watch? Was it the Wall Street Journal? We watched his interview with the Wall Street Journal and stuff like that. And like, they still can't put two and two together and see what these guys are up to. Curtis Yarvin has a fucking play. He has a playbook for how to take over the government. It's called the Butterfly Revolution. Let me ask ChatGPT for it, and I'll read it out to you. Can you please outline the steps of Curtis Yarvin's The Butterfly Revolution? Here it is. Recognize the US regime is a theocracy. Yavin argues that the United States is not a democracy, but a decentralized theocracy controlled by the cathedral. So the cathedral is like the deep state, basically. A term coined to describe the unelected nexus of universities, the media, and the bureaucracy. First step, wake up to the idea that elections don't really change power structure. Real power lies in permanent institutions. It was the New York Times. Okay. So we watched his thing, and like they're interviewing him, and like what was it? They brought their C team or their B team to talk to him, because they could have knocked him down a few pegs, but like they just let him go like a little bit wild with some of the stuff that he was talking about. But like, you know, like no one's picking up on like the fact that like, you know, he's actually like described by them as well as like the in-house philosopher for like these tech bros and stuff like that. And like a very particular tech bro too, Peter Thiel, who we've described as the kingmaker. And Peter Thiel is also, in terms of kingmaker, like politician maker too. He's donated the largest sum apparently in the US political history, $15 million to JD Vance to get into the Senate. And like JD Vance is basically Peter Thiel's creation. And JD Vance often refers to and uses the rhetoric that comes from Curtis Yarvin. And so like to really think that like Curtis Yarvin's ideas and like these principles of the Dark Enlightenment and the Butterfly Revolution don't filtrate into like the American government and like their plan for like what is going to be happening, like what Trump's plan is through dark MAGA, through the tech bros, to think that sort of that those ideas don't penetrate through is ridiculous, especially when you look at what has happened over the last 3 months. Like it's been, I think, quite obvious that like Doge is actually a reflection of this kind of philosophy and this outlook for democracy. Number 2, abandon electoral politics. Yarvin urges those on the right to stop trying to win elections or to fix the system within. The system is, in his view, self-reinforcing and will never allow true change from the ballots. Engagement in democracy only legitimizes the system. That's pretty like, pretty Marxist, like pretty leftist. Like you hear a lot of leftists talk about that. I don't vote because I don't want to, validate the system kind of thing. Focus on the hard reset or a peaceful change. So it's got nothing to do with the army. It's got nothing to do with it. First up, wake up. Second step, put on makeup. If you're on top. Third step, say a little prayer for you. Third step, grab keys from the table. Wake up. I thought that was a System of a Down reference, actually. And is that Nefan? Is that your System of a Down reference, actually? God, I love System of a Down. The goal is not civil war or violent insurrection, but a peaceful transfer of power akin to reformatting a computer. Can you see the tech bro Silicon Valley language here? Like it's all like startups and like, rebooting your computer. Yarvin often uses the metaphor of reboot or firmware update. The existing state is to be replaced entirely with new software, i.e. a new regime. Install a CEO or monarch. Now, like, this is really hard to say here, but I'll put it to you Americans. All right, so that's you, Jag, and who else is the American in here at the moment? Jay, is it? I'll put it to you Americans, okay? You guys have defined your culture, I would have thought, in like standing in opposition to like tyrants, so monarchs, King George III. And like these guys are using the language and like very openly about like wanting to set up or bring back the monarchy. Like I wonder how that makes you feel, because I know as an Australian and people that have like, been federated from, the British colony and stuff like that, I know that's not how the world perceives us, but like we're quite happy to be as independent as we can from Britain, because we're sick of being under the rule of British, being told basically what to do by the British. Like that is exemplified no greater than in times of war, where we've been used as cannon fodder for the British. And so like we're sick of that. But like you Americans literally fought a revolutionary war to get rid of the monarch and tyrants and stuff like that. And like, you know, these people are like openly using language like they want to bring back the monarchy and stuff like that. It just it perplexes me. Oh, Ollie Atlas. Yes, I forgot. I'm sorry. You are American. Like, how do you feel like, you know, knowing like your culture, which is built around like, you know, being anti-tyrant, and these people want to bring back the fucking monarchy? Like, it's crazy. Like, in the place of democracy, Yavin proposes that the US should be governed like a joint stock corporation. One person, a competent CEO, a monarch, should hold absolute authority. This leader would rule not by being elected, but by being installed. Often Yavin suggests a tech billionaire or someone like Elon Musk. Yes, I've heard him refer to Elon Musk a number of times. But like, this is being installed, remember, not elected. The idea is similar to the way the Roman Republic transitioned into the Roman Empire. Indeed, my bad. The hell my other comments are showing. Deplorable Kulak is back. Welcome, and thanks for doing the roll call. Nathan says, my other comments aren't showing. All right, if you're getting things censored, let me stop you right there, please. If you're getting your comments censored and they're not showing up, stop writing those comments. Let me give you the Discord. Please go to the Discord. And there's a channel in the server where you can actually go. It's called Censored Comments. Go there and write in your censored comments and I'll read them out for you. But if you keep typing them in here, we'll get cut eventually. We'll get chopped off and they'll censor us. So, sorry, like YouTube will just cut us off. It'll disconnect the stream. So like, please go to Discord. And like, if you're liking the stream and you're liking stuff so far, please subscribe on YouTube and then also go over to Patreon so I can go to Patreon and so I can get notifications to you, because I can't get notifications to you through usual social media channels. It all gets filtered. So please do it that over there. You don't think all of our presidents are installed? Well, that's not what Curtis Yarvin thinks. He thinks that they actually have to go through the democratic gauntlet. He's talking about like removing the illusion of democracy. So he doesn't actually think that it's a democracy, but the illusion of democracy, just going straight for just installing CEOs, which are going to be elected by a board, let's remember, and that board is going to be a bunch of fucking tech bros. Then direct democracy is socialist. Wait, what? In my opinion, says Deplorable Kulak, it's my opinion that the two organizations that are allowed to pick presidents probably wouldn't pick the president I would pick. Probably wouldn't pick the president that most people would pick, I'm assuming. It's an act of metaphorical self-harm. All right. But yeah, please, if you put anything, just send me a message so I know to keep an eye out for censored comments. Absolute wipeout of Dutton and Trumpism. Before I said, Jag said something 2 minutes ago. I think the anti-tyrant mentality is a myth taught in schools that omit all the tyrannical stuff that we have done to get to this point. That's interesting. That's very interesting, actually. Yeah. Well, like, it's unfortunate that that's the case, because like, I thought the rhetoric was there. Like, I really thought that like the anti-tyrant mentality was like, you know, kind of dialectically related to republicanism, like the idea, and I don't mean like the Republican Party, just like the style of organization, like people actually believed in like the American Republic, and like you should have like, you know, people elected and making decisions kind of thing as a group of elected representatives, as opposed to just like one person dominating an entire system and like using like their rule like arbitrarily, like a king. Like, remember, like in the liberal sense, like a king not only were they bad for the economy because like they did stupid shit based on their emotions with fucked up economics, which is why the liberals hated them in the first place and like wanted to bring in liberal democratic societies, because like they thought groups of like liberals would like do a better job at like economic policy. But like they also thought kings were crazy because like, you know, they could just arrest you like without any reason, and they could just kill you really without any reason as well. So like they had like the decision to control people's lives and death, and like no one had any political freedom to talk about it and say how much they hated that. And so like a monarch, which is nice like to say that it would be run more efficiently, but a monarch could also just say, well, no one's allowed to talk about this anymore. And like you're not allowed to even, like, you've been talking about that, so you're going to be in prison for the rest of your life. And like, you know, they could also just be like, let's just reinstitute the death penalty across the board, and anyone that talks about this or is put in prison, after a while I'm just going to round them all up and kill them all, like, kind of thing. Like, this is where you go this is why the word tyrant, I think, is so like so graphic. And the imagery that it portrays is so much more than just saying like monarch. Monarch, you think of like the crown jewels or something like that. But when you think of tyrant, you think of someone like, you know, rounding people up and like destroying people's lives. And so that's why I really thought I really hoped that the American culture was strong on the anti-tyrant stuff. But like, you're right, like a lot of things, it's just a story told to educate the American public. And say, hey, look over here, while like actual tyrannical stuff is going on over there. Kulak says, you have two choices every election, and they choose who you will choose. That is a good point. 5, a new sovereign receives voluntary support. This transformation would happen only if elite institutions and players voluntarily withdrew from the old regime and pledged loyalty. So like loyalty is a big thing here. So that's basically what Trump is doing at the moment with like these organizations. Like the DEI is kind of like the wedge. Okay. But like if you see them like with like companies like legal firms and like the university institutions, he's like, I'm anti-DEI. From now on, I've signed an executive order saying no more DEI. And if you don't show your loyalty to my cause, which is anti-DEI, I will know who's loyal and who's not. And the ones who have just been like, no, I'm going to stand my ground on DEI, he knows they're not loyal. And the ones that have just like capitulated straight away, he's like, I know that I've got them in the bag and they will follow my rule. And so like, this is the example of voluntary stuff going on. It's just like he's sent executive orders to the states too, telling them to get rid of like DEI stuff in schools. And he's figuring out which states are loyal to him and not. So he's slowly going through and like basically weeding out American institutions and states at the moment to figure out who's loyal or not. No mass uprising is needed. Instead, the consent of the elite, media, finance, and tech is enough to trigger the shift. And it's like he's going to be doing that with the media too. He's already starting to do that with the media. Like people that like he thinks that are like giving him a bad rap and aren't being balanced news and stuff like that, he's threatening their media licenses. He's taking them to court and stuff like that. So if they speak bad about him, they are not loyal and they've got to go. The butterfly emerges. Once this transfer is complete, a new regime would be more efficient, stable, and hierarchical, eliminate bureaucratic bloat. So it's not about getting rid of all this stuff, because like even he acknowledges, as much as, you know, he talks about monarchs and having all the power and all that sort of stuff. Like in an advanced industrial nation, you need these elements, these administrative elements in there that help make society run. Like you can't just have everything go up to the president. It's fucking impossible. Like it's absolutely impossible. Like society's way too complex to have everything channeled through one CEO. Like that's not how companies are sorted either. Like there's middle management and stuff like that. And so like when they talk about like, you know, getting rid of like the elements of power that are in institutions and all that sort of stuff, it's fucking bullshit. They want the institutions to have the power. They just want them to be loyal. It's all about pledging loyalty to the new monarch so they can run the world in like whatever way they think is appropriate. Govern through clear chains of command, like a well-run company. Reject ideological. Oh, sorry, I'm not watching this probably. Reject ideological rule and base decisions on pure pragmatism and performance. This is all your, rhetoric, non-stop rhetoric about like meritocracy and all that sort of stuff. It's painful. The old world is remembered like a dream. In Yavin's metaphor, the caterpillar, like the old regime, is dissolved completely. The butterfly, the new regime, has no memory of the caterpillar. It's qualitatively different. Like, this is very like Marxian kind of idea stuff, like dialectics, like the idea that you like make a qualitative change in a revolution. Like, he is like all of these like postmodernists and stuff like that. Like, they think that they've like, reinvented like the game and stuff like that. And they're not Marxists and stuff like that, but they're just trying to adapt Marxism to suit their own purposes. It's really easy to see through, to be honest. Jungle potatoes. Welcome here, potato. Yeah, welcome. And Xanthos Phylon is in as well. Hello, welcome. It's an illusion. What is it? S election on coin flip voting in question marks. If anyone can do it, it's Neo, the one who dodges. And like, it's funny because like Yavin loves his Matrix references too. He's the one that made red pilling popular. How crazy is that? Like, honestly, like I didn't really like all this red pill manosphere stuff. Like, it all originated with fucking Curtis Yavin stealing from the Matrix. Ooh, check censored comments. All right. Oh wow, there's a few censored comments in there. Pious Jackbot. Elections are all rigged by the Illuminati. I don't know who Pious Jackpot is because the pseudonyms don't match. Like the same names on Discord are not the same names here. Good old Yurdy Calves. My ancestors fought kings. What is this? Abomi Nathan. Was just saying that the whole Dark Enlightenment movement feels like the long game of people like Werner von Braun and other Nazi scientists that were taken in during Operation Paperclip. Like, what did the US expect would happen if they let those people fester and educate their next generation? It's the same mentality that the Nazis had with their scientists, progress and power, no matter the cost. I think that's a really interesting point because there's like a lot of association here with like Nazism or fascism generally, and this butterfly revolution and like this Doge stuff and this Dark Enlightenment. It is this acknowledgement really that like democracy was never meant democracy was never meant for popular support and like the masses to be involved with. It was for liberals, like the people that controlled the economy, capitalists, and people that were involved in commerce and trade. They were the ones that were supposed to take society by the horns off the tyrant and run the economy better. And so they set up democracies, republics, so they could run the economy. And then like the working classes, the people out there got involved and were like, no, we want political enfranchisement. We want to be involved in politics too. And so like democracy has turned into like this popular institution, this popular thing. And like democracy is supposed to, we associate it with like, rule by the people, but that was never the intention of democracy, as these liberals would have known. And so like, what you have now is these people are like kind of going back to the basics, and they're wanting to merge these corporate interests, these moneyed interests, with the state. And like corporatism, corporate and the state coming together or running the state like a corporation in the interest of like a number of billionaires and tech bros that like, think that they can run the economy and stuff like that. That is fascism. That is fascism. And that's fascism without like all the violence and stuff like that. It's like the kind of the brand of ideological fascism that developed after they kind of took power. Like Mussolini was big on this. Like he was talking about the corporate state and corporatism. Like, this is not new, what they're talking about. They're just calling it something else. They're calling it, basically, it's sexy because it's dark, and it like refers to the Enlightenment. So you kind of think like it's a rejection of these Enlightenment issues and stuff like that. But like, it's not really that new in the sense that you're right. Like, these people, they never got rid of like the Nazis properly. A lot of them like were experts and they were good at what they were doing, and so they kind of just let them filtrate throughout the world and brought them over to do different things, and like their sentiments have never really died away. Just like, you know, these people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, these people that are like, you know, championing these dark Enlightenment ideals, they were related to or grew up in apartheid South Africa in the 70s. And like that was controlled by Nazis that were escaping World War II. And so like where Peter Thiel grew up, like the Nazis basically controlled that part of South Africa. And like they celebrated Hitler's birthday. And like when you went to the shop or something like that, they Sieg Heil'd you and said Heil Hitler. And so like he grew up in this world, and like now he's in control of like the butterfly revolution, or like, you know, massively influencing Trump's presidency. And we think these things are detached from one another, but they're very influential. The white supremacist theocratic element will take care of the violence. Yeah, there's a lot of this rhetoric in here. It's like, oh, it's just a takeover kind of thing, like in a bureaucratic sense. This is like a change of administration, a change of hands, a change of paperwork kind of thing. But like, yeah, right, yeah, it'll be the people, the paramilitaries, the hardcore supporters, the real dark MAGA, the original dark MAGAs, not dark gothic MAGA, but the dark MAGAs out there that are like, you know, they've got pictures of Trump as Rambo. They'll take care of all the violence. Yes, that's a really good point, Jag. Move fast, break stuff. That's it. Jackie Bailey. They do a lot here. Deplorable Kulak. I don't think Curtis Yarvin is as popular as people are making him out to be. No, that's what I'm saying. He's not popular. He should be more popularized. People should know his name, but I think he's way more influential than we think on a very small group of people that seem to have a lot of power and influence because of all the money that they have. Nefan, we think we're past these battles that were fought in previous generations, but they just take a new face. Corporate blitzkrieg. That's an interesting. I wonder if anyone has come up with that before. Have you borrowed that terminology? Who came up with that? Because that's pretty fucking crazy. Like the new form, like the way to describe fascism and like this type of, you know, corporate takeover of the government in the interest of a monarchical interest. Corporate blitzkrieg. I like that. That's fucking crazy. How much do you know about Elon's connection to Wiener von Braun? I don't know. Do you know he's named after a sci-fi character he created? Really? That's interesting. That's where Elon gets his name. Deborah will clear. We already have fascism. What do you think? Funds all of the other senators. Yeah, that's a good point. Rupert Murdoch isn't popular. Well, look. This is just thought of a little corporate blitzkrieg is fucking crazy. You should coin that term and like put it somewhere so like people can acknowledge you when they start using it. It's a good one. Important notes. Yarvin intentionally mixes irony, provocation, and seriousness. His writing can sound like science fiction, but it's meant as real political theory. There you go. That goes on your, like, the point about popular. Like, can you really take him seriously, though, like Curtis Yarvin? Well, like, it's not about whether you should take him seriously. It's about whether the people that have the power and the influence are taking him seriously. And, like, while he, like, dismisses it and you see him, he laughs it off all the time. Like, just look at the material reality of what has been happening in the first, like, 4 months or something of, like, Trump's campaign. Like, there's some serious ideas of his and that borrowed from the Dark Enlightenment and stuff like that are being rolled out here. And the rhetoric that comes with it too. Like, just listen to J.D. Vance talk. He explicitly rejects traditional left-right spectrum, seeing both liberalism and mainstream conservatism as products of the same decaying system. That's why they're neo-reactionaries, because they're so hardcore. The Butterfly Revolution is elite-focused, anti-populist, and anti-democratic by design. Would you like a visual diagram of these steps? No, thanks, ChatGPT. Thanks for asking that. I think the Congress people need to wear jerseys that say to pay for them. That's pretty funny. And yes, Elon's dad loved Wayner's books. That's interesting. Werner's books. Wow. So that's where he gets his name. Congress people are like race cars, but without advertisements. It'd be funny to make them wear the jerseys. Wouldn't it be interesting to see who they truly align with? So, like, that's what I wanted to go over today. Like, I really wanted to nail home this point that, like, you know, when Musk puts on a black hat and, like, changes his appearance to be, like, noir, that's not aesthetic rebellion. That's not like him just being like, you know, separating himself from the red MAGAs of the crowd kind of thing. So you know who's Trump and who's like Elon Musk. And like, you know, Trump will look after the nationalistic interests and building back the economy, while like, you know, Musk is going to get in there with like his team of experts like, what are that kid called that's in Doge? The one that everyone makes fun of, Big Balls. He's going to get in there, like Musk is going to get in there with big balls and like destroy the federal bureaucracy. And so like you can just tell them apart. This is the dark side and this is the red side kind of thing. It's got nothing to do with that. This has got to do with like a philosophical way of seeing the way that politics is administered in this world. Simple search for Elon and von Braun. Let's check out this link. Send a link in the Discord for Elon's namesake. In his 1953 novel, Project Mars. What? Yeah, there's a kid, like a 20-year-old kid, like one of those, you know, experts that Musk has brought in with Doge. One of those kids is like known in like these chat rooms and stuff like that as Big Balls. That's his fucking name. Yeah. This is fucking crazy. In his 1953 novel Project Mars, A Technical Tale, rocket scientist Werner von Braun described a Martian government led by a leader named Elon. Is this why this fucking nut, he wants to go to Mars? Is this why? To fulfill a prophecy written into a science fiction novel? This book, which details a potential mission to Mars, sparked interest when Elon Musk, known for his Mars colonization, shared the revelation on social media. What the fuck? Do you get him better now? Yes. Yes, like I thought his like ties to Nazism were like purely like political. But like this is just mental. This is next level narcissistic behavior. This is like pathological narcissism here. And like it just shows like with that much money comes just such delusion over like what you can do with the world. Like this is fucking crazy. I love seeing people realize this. Yeah, you can screenshot that, bottle that reaction if you want. That's fucking crazy. Whatever. This world is fucked. Okay. We need a fucking revolution and not a butterfly revolution. Like we honestly need a system that is able to do away with like the mental, like philosophical, ideological craziness that comes out of a capitalist mode of production. Like as capitalism moves further and further away from its main goal, which is reproducing society, right? It's supposed to produce value to keep society going. As capitalism moves further and further away from that goal because of the technological sophistication that comes with advanced industrial living, where you have less and less people actually involved in the creation of value. And like it's able to do all of this extra shit, this crazy stuff, because you don't have the old dichotomy between like, you know, basically working people and ruling classes. You have like this myriad and this expansiveness of all these other people that come in with like this complex division of labor. You have so many other different players and ideas going on there, and you have so little people involved now with producing any real value, because like, you know, we have machines that do a lot of it anyway. We have technology, we have science, we have all of this sort of stuff. And so like you have all these fucking craziness out there. You have so much craziness as like money becomes more and more detached from value. This is like a big thing that Marx talks about. As money becomes more and more detached from real value out there, and people can amass ridiculous amounts of it based on speculation and like, you know, wild playing on the stock market and stuff like that, they're able to do endeavors like this and then like convince people to like, you know, back them when they want to do a coup. Like a coup, and like, you know, they're going to, you know, make the government better and more efficient and all that sort of stuff, where they're just going to recreate a new type of society in their own interests, and like in their own image. And then we've got stuff like the network state, and the network state is twofold. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the network state is not just like producing cities like Prospera and like Praxis and like, you know, like exiting society and going to live in a crystalline city in Greenland. It's also taking over the existing political system. That is what we've seen in Starbase. Like Musk has got his own city now in Texas, and there's like a mini version of the network state. It's the company town. And like this stuff is really happening, and like capitalism is going fucking nuts. And so like, you know, you have someone like, as Jag accurately described the other day, someone like Parenti, who says like the natural trajectory for liberal democracy or liberal society is a move towards fascism, a descent, a degeneration, a de-evolution into fascism. And that's what we're getting. This is just like this butterfly revolution, the dark enlightenment, call it what you fucking want. It's the merging together of the corporate sector and the state into one entity, and the elimination of any pretense of rule by the people. And just like, you know, let's just bring it down to the basic here. Who really has power? The bureaucracy and like institutions. Let's take that power back off them and give it to a CEO that's like beholden to a board of directors, which are just a bunch of rich people. And this is why like capitalism's got to fucking go, because this is the direction it tends towards as like the means of production become more technical, become more sophisticated, and you rely less and less on labor. Because like labor at one point had a lot of power in that dynamic. They could go on strike and they could do things, and it held the capitalist class in check. But like, you know, labor doesn't have as much power these days. So there's no one to keep these fucking crazy people in check. And so like they read us a book that they were named after, and they think they're going to take everyone to Mars and set up a colony over there. Fucking crazy. This is fucked. He has serious main character syndrome. The fact that just makes me double down on my leftism. Yeah, that's why I just went on my little anti-fascist rant there, and anti-capitalist rant there. Sorry, I want to clarify. I don't care what Elon is doing with his money. I would care about all of those billions that he got in grants. That pisses me off. Yes, grants and government contracts, baby. Yeah, what people shouldn't have. That people shouldn't have that amount of money. Yeah. What does Elon Musk need billions in grant money for? Bro thinks he is a fulfillment of some great prophecy. Pretty much. It's very prophetic, all of this. Do you believe capitalism includes printing money? That's not what I believe capitalism is. I believe capitalism is the free market. There's more government intrusion into the market than ever. No, I don't think capitalism is printing money. And like, you know, someone like Yanis Varoufakis would argue that now we are in a situation where like the government literally just prints money, and like these big tech corporations especially don't know what to do with it. Like they've got so much that like even the government, when it prints it out, like they just like, well, what do you want us to do? Take on more money kind of thing. Like the monetary flow doesn't really stimulate the economy for these people anymore. You still have capitalists. It means the world too, but like the main and dominant class of these tech bros, and like, you know, they've got more money they can poke a stick at. They've already bought back all of their shares and control everything. And like their companies are worth trillions of dollars. So they're the biggest entities in the world economy anyway. So like, you know, capitalism for them has has ceased to have meaning, because they just control so much anyway. Wow, crazy. But this is what capitalism produces in an advanced society, and one that's moving towards more and more sophisticated technological intrusion into the economy through things like AI. Crazy. All right, I'm going to leave it there. This has been a very interesting deep dive into what's going on and what these people are really up to at the end of the day. So thank you for everyone that has joined, and for you new people, I really do encourage you, go over to Discord, join up, come and drop your propaganda there. That's what we have the Discord for. Go and drop your propaganda. We'll have a talk about it, even if it's controversial. We'll check it out, and people will tell you if they like it or not. It's a place for doing that type of stuff. So yeah, go over, drop your propaganda, and join the conversation. And again, I can't get notifications properly. I'm telling you, my videos are not going out to you guys. My videos have dropped off a cliff in terms of their views. And I think that there's something nefarious going on there, but I don't want to be all a conspiracy about it. But please go over to Patreon, become a member for free. If you can financially support, I would really, really appreciate that. It'd help a lot. But yeah, great chat today. Really interesting stream. Nefan says that to finish it off, what does a man who has everything want? Has everything want? Power. That's pretty much it. And consolidating that power. Do you agree that we don't have capitalism right now? We have techno-feudalism 100%. No, I still think we have capitalism. It's surveillance capitalism. I think it's transitioning into techno-feudalism. But it's not it's not classical capitalism. It's not like Marxian capitalism, industrial revolution capitalism, or Adam Smith's version of capitalism. It's got nothing. It's not that at all. It's beyond anything that you would be able to recognize in a textbook or anything like that. And it's moving towards that inevitable transition towards a fascistic style of governance and organization. So yeah, please go over to Discord, go over to Patreon. I'd appreciate that. And let's just do a call out because there's been some mad chat today. So Wings of Cheese, thanks for your contributions. I know you had to leave early. Ollie Atlas is here talking. Jackie Bailey, haven't had you there before, but thanks for coming along. Nafan, was good to see you. 4IS, of course, as always. Jag, as always. Xanthos, Philon, I hope I'm saying that right. Thanks for coming in and dropping some stuff. Jungle Potatoes, Deplorable Kulak. I think there's someone that I missed already, though. I did miss Jay, is it? There's a new person in the chat today. So thanks to all. Oh, Squeeb, how could I forget? Thanks for starting us off there, Squeeb. Yeah, so thank you for everyone who has interacted today. Ollie Atlas, as always, good to have you in on a Friday stream. Yeah, thank you everyone for your interactions today. It's been interesting. I only do the YouTube thing, but I'll be here next episode. And we will be Jungle Potatoes, great name. Great chat. I think, we all learned something today. It's been very interesting. And don't take Dark MAGA as just some fucking rebellious black shirt bullshit. There's something else going on there, I would say. But Deplorable Clue, come along on YouTube. We're back on Monday for another YouTube, and then we'll go to Twitch throughout the week and then get back to YouTube on Fridays. So thank you very much. Enjoy your weekends. Remember, one time in the working week where capital can't touch you, enjoy your weekends. You've all worked hard for it. And if you haven't, people in the past have worked hard for it, and people in the future are going to work hard to keep it. So enjoy your weekend. And until next time, please remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery. See you next time. Cheers.